All right, I want to do a quick video here about the first jazz etude and kind of how I interpret this first phrase stylistically, how I articulate, how I accent, all those things. So the first thing that I'm looking at, if I'm going to approach this stylistically, you got to know, articulation-wise, you're not going to play this like a classical piece of music. It would sound really dumb. You know, even if you play with a really good legato style, the other thing I hear a lot of people doing is, which is way worse, I think, which is obnoxious. A couple things you can try practicing. And I wrote this down. Here, take a look at this real quick. I'm going to change my camera around. How easy is that to see? That's not too bad. So, up there I have do-da, 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 do-da. So basic jazz articulation, if you're going to articulate eighth notes, most of this piece is eighth notes. You're going to use a do-da articulation, right? It's kind of basic, fundamental articulation. Do-da. So if you're looking at this first etude, you could tongue every single note. And it could come across pretty well. I'm not just, obviously I'm not exactly going do-da, do-da, do-da the entire time. And that's going to be the next thing I talk about. You can't just, there are certain notes that you have to emphasize, right? And that's what I'm going to talk about next. So look at the etude here. Let me put it up where you can see it. That's pretty obvious. All right, so when you're looking at this first phrase, it's going to be from about here to there. So take a look at the first phrase. Now I just went through and I articulated all the notes. It sounded like jazz, I hope. When I go through here, the difference between just playing da do da do da do da do da do da and what I'm doing is I'm looking at the peaks of each of these. Little sides. Think of it like a mountain. You're going up the mountain, that's the highest note. You go up the mountain, that's the highest note. This is the highest note. Going down the mountain, you're going back up. This is the highest note. This is the highest note. And then this is already accented, so we'll just roll with that. And so, if you just go through da do da do da do da, that works. This is an upbeat. All the upbeats are going to be the da. Da is a little bit stronger articulation. Do da. So here it's going to change. There it's going to change where you have a downbeat. Whenever that downbeat, that peak happens on a downbeat, we're going to change where the accent happens. So there, there, there. We're going to articulate a little bit stronger. When I'm looking, the way I like to play this, the way it sounds here, I think it's better to emphasize both notes. Okay? So if I'm tonguing just about every note, that's how I might look at it. Instead of doing do-da, another thing you might, just very common use articulation is this over here. So if it's a scale, you articulate the upbeat and you slur to the downbeat. And you could play this entire you could mark that down on, let me put this in front where you can see it a little better. You could mark this up with that articulation in mind. This, that's weird. That. You could do this. I might change that. And so if you write it all in like this gives you the do-da effect without having to tongue every single note. We'll adjust this in a little bit. All this, you could slur all that. Okay. Now what this does, go back to this for a second. So notice we talked about this a little bit. Da is going to give you more of an accent. Do da, do da, do da, do da. Another way to accent a note is to articulate it versus slurring it. If you articulate a note and you set an articulated note up against a slurred note, the articulated note is going to, it's going to be a little punchier. It's going to stand out a little bit more. The articulated note's stronger. So you get like kind of a natural do-da, do-da, do-da without having to accent it. Make sense? So if you apply that to the piece of music we're working on here, and you play that throughout the whole thing, it pretty much works, okay? That's not too bad. It's not, I'm gonna change a couple things here to make it fit what I want. But this can stay, if you wanna add these articulations, this can stay. I like playing these two notes articulated together. I think that sounds better. It gives a little bit more punch. Now, listen to the difference. So there's just slurring to it. And then if you tongue it, I don't know, I like punching both those notes a little bit. I don't know how well that comes across in the video, but it sounds better to me. So I'm going to erase this slur. I'm going to erase this slur. I'm going to punch both these notes a little bit harder. So this note right here, instead of using the articulation like we're doing now, we're going to articulate that note because it's a peak. We're going to punch that note a little bit stronger. I think it sounds better. We'll talk about this in a second. I don't want to slur to any accented notes because if we're going to accent it, might as well tongue it. Bring it out nice and strong. What else do we have? We'll articulate all that. Okay, so with all those adjustments, okay, and here at the end, check out these accents. Right? That's what a lot of jazz is. You have this main idea, and then they embellish it. Hear that? It's kind of like if you were playing. You have your main structure and you embellish those notes, right? Adding more notes around it. That's kind of how I think about this. Now, what else am I going to do? Oh, so there's another articulation sometimes I like to pull out, especially if I'm playing something fast. So down here, if you check this out, so again, tonguing those notes is going to punch the note a little bit more. So if you do like a do-da here at the beginning, you are naturally punching the first two notes, and you can tongue the second note a little harder depending on where you want the accent to be. But ta-ta, ta-ta, I like this articulation. opposed to hear how the accents, I'm trying to exaggerate the accents a little bit, see how they're different. So, looking back at our piece, there's a couple spots you might work that in. So if you look here, you could play all of this slurred, and you could then articulate these first two notes as if we're doing that new rhythm. Now when you get to here, obviously you don't want to use that articulation and slur all the way to this. It's not going to work because we're trying to tongue this note to bring it out a little bit because it's a peak. Remember? Same way with this. It's not going to work here. Ta-ta, because you want to tongue this note. Both of them, I think. It's not going to work here because if we slur all this, we're not going to be able to punch this as much. And to give it a breath punch, I don't think it sounds as good. We're going to do that. You know, without the articulation, it's just, I don't know, it feels dumb. To slur and just to do a breath accent, it just feels goofy. All right, moving on. So here you could get away with it. Here you could do it because you're not accenting anything else. Here it would work nice anyway because, you know, we're not bringing out any of these notes necessarily. Not yet. We could if we want, I guess. Same way here. We want to punch this note, which we are. We're tonguing it. And we don't have to accent the next note till we get here. So then you try it, see how you like it. So doing 3 of these in a row, I don't know, it starts to sound a little, I don't know, it seems a little much. I don't really do it here. Let me try doing it here and then play this with the articulation I had. Yeah, I like articulating this into this. I think that's better. Okay, so is all that showing up? Yeah, that's fine. So now with all those pencil markings, and it doesn't have to be this way. You can adjust it. You can do a couple. There are a lot of different ways you can play this to make it sound good. But that's how I would approach it. And then you do the next phrase the same way. Maybe you want to start with the articulation. Articulate the upbeat, slur to the downbeat. 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 If you just want to start this as your kind of standard practice articulation, just to get good at it, ta, and then see how it sounds. You know, that's fine. Obviously, this is the highest note in the phrase. We're going to punch it. Plus, it's the beginning of a phrase. Usually, you're going to play the beginning of a phrase louder. This is going to be a short note. Instead of slurring to a short note, I would just hit it. I'm going to punch this note anyway, so that works. This A, you know, again, it's just a little bit of a peak up there. I might bring that note out a little bit more. Erase that. Let's articulate it. Let's see. And what else could you do? You could slur all the way to there if you wanted to, like we talked about with that rhythm. Not rhythm, articulation. The rhythm's all just eighth notes. Most of jazz is eighth notes. So slurring there sounds fine. If we slurred all this, sounds sounds like a lot of slurring. I wouldn't do that. There I tried to tongue everything. At this speed, if you can tongue it all, and you have a good do-da articulation, and you can pull it off and sound good and accent everything and play stylistically well, I mean, if that's you, if you can do that, do it. At 200 beats per minute, you're probably going to be slurring. I don't know. Probably slurring. How fast is 200? Yeah. So that's what I would do. I mean, that sounds good to me. Here, let me turn the camera around. So that's what I do. That's how I would approach it, especially with a swing, with a fast swing etude like this. That's how I would do it. It's not going to be, yeah, no, I think that's fine. Think about your articulation, listen to jazz, check out different jazz musicians who are playing faster, it seems like bebop lines to me. You know, a fast swing, it's not going to be da-da-do-da-da-do-do-da. It seems like the faster a swing goes, the straighter those eighth notes tend to turn out. So give it a shot. Let me know if you have any questions in the comment box, and we'll talk to you later.